Susan Wise Bauer. I'm the author of the Story of the World series, which is a chronological 4-volume world history series that goes from ancient times all the way up to the present. We are very excited that we have now newly revised the 3rd volume of the series, which is early modern times from 1600 to 1850. And although the history in it is still wonderful, the content is still accurate, nothing major has changed. This book was first published in
2004.
2004, and this is my colleague Justin Moore, who has been helping with the Story of the World series since the beginning, pretty much.
Long time.
Yeah, long time, since the beginning. And so he and I have worked together to revise Volume 3. It has gotten a major facelift. Beautiful new illustrations, new typesetting, but the content is still the same. So we hope that this 3rd volume will be easier to use. It'll be more attractive. But if you have any of the older parts, so this series has 4 parts. There's the central text, textbook, reader, storybook, some people call it. There's the activity book, yes, that has the curriculum materials in it, questions, maps.
Coloring pages.
Yeah, all that kind of fun stuff. There's a test book, should you wish to test your children. And then there's an audio version read by the wonderful Jim Weiss. If you own any of the old versions of any of these, you can still use them with the updated version. The updated versions are just prettier and easier to use. So we're excited about that.
And the chapters haven't changed order or anything like that, so you can still find your way through, for instance, the new activity book if you have the old reader and vice versa.
Yes. But we strongly feel that you should invest in the new versions because they're pretty. So we have made some significant improvements to our central text, the central reader, the central storybook, as people call it. Justin, my colleague, has been very, very involved with these. Justin is a historian in his own right. He's also very detail-oriented. Justin proofreads and fact checks the history books that I write for W.W. Norton and other publishers because that is what he does so well. So he's really been in charge of making sure that this is the best possible version of itself. So there are really 3 major sets of improvements we've made to this.
That's right. The first thing that we did was we went and improved the typesetting. We've learned a lot about typesetting and we have better tools than we did.
Since 2004.
In 2004, so when we were carving it on a clay tablet. And so it's a lot easier to read and it's especially easier for young eyes. But because a lot of parents also like to read it out loud to their students, we've now created a pronunciation guide. It's a world history. There's
lots of strange names.
Exactly. And so we've made a pronunciation guide with all of those names and places to make it easier for you to read this to your children.
Oh, and I should say we had a pronunciation guide for the earlier edition, but it was in the activity guide. It wasn't in the text itself.
So now it's in both.
A lot of parents asked us to make it available in the text.
Exactly. So now it's integrated. You can just flip over and see if there's a name that you're having trouble with. And then one of the things I'm
so
very excited
about
is we created 48 new illustrations, and they're gorgeous. And
they have been obsessively researched.
Yes, probably maybe even more than they needed to be. But so not only are there more illustrations than there were in the old version, but they're all better. And they were created by Jeff West, who's the artist who did the revised editions of Story of the World 1 and 2 that many of you have enjoyed. And they're of people and events from throughout the text and all around the world. They're beautiful. You're going to see some examples of them in this video, and we think you'll love them.
Now, because the text is not changed, remember you can still use the old version of the Story of the World Volume 3 with the new activity book, or you can use this new volume of the Story of the World Volume 3 with the old activity book. But the illustrations, the typesetting, that pronunciation guide, I think is really, really useful. Make this much more parent and kid friendly, I think.
Yeah.
So it's available in hardback and in paperback through all major book selling outlets. It is available as a PDF from our website. It's available as an ebook. For that, you would have to go to Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play. But it's available in whatever format suits you and suits your family. When we decided to revise the central text for the Story of the World Volume 3, we were also super excited to get the chance to revise the activity book. Now, we love the activity book. We've always loved the activity book. But again, I'm just going to say 2004, which essentially meant that our image quality was
less than it is now.
Less than it could be now. And, some of the technical capabilities in terms of creating I know the mazes, for example, and some of the game boards were, 150 DPI resolution, which means they were fuzzy.
Yeah.
So we were very excited to have the chance to improve all of these things.
Definitely.
So Justin has worked so hard on improving not just all of the little details that go along with these activities and games and all the stuff in the activity book, but the quality as well. So we'll start with the maps.
So one of the things that parents had asked for this book was a map answer key, like some of the other books had. And so we've provided that now, where we did the map exercise and showed you in a small image of what it should look like so that you can check your students' work without having to spend hours and hours doing all the maps
You don't
yourself.
have to read through each one of the instructions. Yes. Parents said, hello, we're busy.
Yes. And so now you can see exactly what it should look like. In addition to that, we've created 44 new coloring pages, so better than one per chapter. Not only are they new, but we think that they're greatly improved, and we're going to show you some images of them in this video. They're wonderful, and again, we researched them and tried to include different kinds of things from different chapters. And
there's some wonderful historical images
in
the backgrounds, for example. Just every aspect of them reflects on the period.
Oh man, I really enjoy the coloring pages, and I think you will too. So in general, all the images, not just the coloring pages, have been remade. So that's the paper dolls, which are beautiful, the game boards, which are gorgeous now.
The review cards.
Oh yeah, all the review cards that are in the back, which before were bare bones. They
were useful.
Yes, but now they are a little more beautiful as well. And all of the diagrams, anything that the student is going to be looking at or using, we've just tried to make it as beautiful as possible.
And I'm excited about the reading list as well. One of the challenges that we have when we're dealing with elementary and middle grade books is how quickly they go out of print. So all of the reading lists in the original activity book are still fine. It's just that as we went through them, more than half of them, I think, were out of print or limited availability in some way. So in the new reading list, what we've done is we've kept the books that we thought, even though they might be hard to find, were worth hunting down. But for the most part, we have given you recommendations for nonfiction and literature reading that are easily available either from a bookstore, from Amazon, or at your local library.
And there's been some amazing stuff that's been published since 2004 that's enabled us to, along with keeping the best of the old, to give you some really great new stuff. There's one where you learn about the Great Fire of London from the point of view of a rat and a flea. And I mean, we had to include that.
I know.
And
also I feel like there's been a lot more published about women, non-Western cultures, non-white people, that is now available for elementary and middle grade students that perhaps wasn't available nearly 20 years
Definitely.
ago.
And so it really broadens the perspective. So when you're reading about the French and Indian War, you can read books about it from the perspective of a colonial settler soldier, French woman who's there, a Native American young boy who's on the opposite side from the British. And there's all kinds of things now that really enrich the perspective. So the literature lists, not only are they freshened up, they're also longer. So you're going to have wonderful library trips and full bags of books, I think.
Now, just to talk for a minute about availability. Like the text, this is available anywhere books are sold, Amazon, it's available directly from us. The difference between the text and the activity book is the activity book is not available as an ebook. You can't buy it in Kindle format. You can't buy it from Barnes & Noble as an ebook. You can buy it directly from us as a PDF. The reason for that is that so many of the pages in the activity book are consumable and require students to write on them, that having a Kindle version or some other ebook version where you can't actually print the page out and use it is simply not useful. So for this one, you're going to need to get the print book, or if you're overseas or you don't want the entire print book, you'll need to get the PDF directly from us. In addition, if you're wondering if you already have the old book, since we're improving all of the coloring pages and games, do you just need to get a copy of the student pages, which then you could use all the updated graphics along with the activity book you already have? You could do that, but you would miss out on the reading lists. And the reading lists, I feel, are about a quarter of the value of this activity book. So I would certainly recommend going with the updated entire activity book so that you'd have access to those as well. So the primary changes when we did this revision were to the text and to the activity book. We made some minor revisions to the test and answer key and to the audiobook just to make them as fit together as smoothly as possible. So the audiobook, there's a new cover, very exciting, just to make it, make it match the revision. But then there are some minor changes in the text.
So 99.5% of the text is the same. And if you have the old edition of the book and the new edition of the audio, mostly you won't notice any hiccups. There were a couple places in the original recording where a word had been skipped or there was a typo or something. And so we teamed up with Jim Weiss one more time to go back and re-record those parts so it's now as smoothly matching with the revised edition as possible. And as Susan said,
Sounds like it could be a fun treasure hunt, like you say to your kid. In this entire, how many hours is it?
It's like 9 hours or something.
In these 9 hours, there are 3 times where Jim Weiss misses a word. Find them.
Ooh, that could be a way of keeping quiet during nap time, for instance.
Or
Maybe.
long car trips. But anyway, so
we
we
digress.
continue on.
The tests, as she said, again, very compatible with either the old or the new edition. And you'll be able to use the tests either in paperback or as a PDF, which you can get from our website. The paperback is available wherever you like to buy books.
We just changed the cover. We like our new cover.
Yeah.
It has a woman on it.
Oh, by the way, I don't know if we mentioned, but the cover of this is actually a watercolor, as the previous edition was. And both of those were painted by Susan's father, James Wise, one of the founders of the press, based on images that he took at a local cultural event from the Chickahominy tribe, one of our local Native American nations.
Yes. He went to the annual powwow and took the pictures, and those are the basis of the photos and the images on the cover. So we're excited about that.
Nice continuity there, but a new image so that you can tell them apart.
So new text for a new decade. We're hoping that this really holds up for the next 20 years as the old edition did.
Wow, 20 years.